Okay, Stakov, you can start.
Okay. Yeah. So, hello, my name is Nicola Staikov. I'm from the Sofia High School of Mathematics, and this is my project on resilient backup strategies. So, first, what are backups and why are they so important? I'm sure most of you already know that backups are just copies of data which is to be recovered in case the need arises. The causes of data loss may vary from human error and hardware failure to natural disaster or malware attacks, but in either case, it is very important to have a backup. Just to put things in perspective, more than 60% of the companies who suffered major data loss uh, filed for bankruptcy in a matter of 6 months. On the other hand, backups can induce significant costs, especially for big companies who keep track of all their sales and information of their clients. So in this project, we are trying to find a balance between the risk of data loss and the storage costs. There are two types of backups considered in the model. The first type is full backup. This is simply a copy of all your data. And the second type is incremental backup, which only keeps track of the changes since the last backup. It is smaller in size, but is dependent on all the backups before it. And each of those types has a certain probability of failure. So the model is separated in two main components: recovery price, which includes the price for the recovery process itself and the price of redoing all the lost work, and storage price, which is how much we pay to keep our data. So we'll begin with the data recovery component. How do we search for the last backup available to recover? We go back through the full backups until we find a working one. And once we have done that, we go forward through the incremental backups attached to it. And if a certain incremental backup fails, we have to stop because all the other incremental backups after it depend on it and will also fail. So here is the formula for the expected price of data recovery. Each of these summoned has the same form. First, we have probability of certain combination of events occurring. By combination of events, I mean some backups failing and other not. Then we have the price for redoing all the lost work. And finally, we have the price for the recovery process itself. And we sum that over all the possibilities for the backup failing. Next, we have data correlation. If the data is correlated, it might be easier to redo all the lost work given what we have left. So we introduce a function to account for that, and we reduce the work rate of recovery with respect to the percentage of data lost. So in the previous formula, we here with x we denote what fraction of the data we have lost, and g of x is this correlation function. So we substitute the work rate with w times g of x in the previous slide, and this is our recovery work rate. Yeah, and in this way we update the rule for estimating the price. I've also made a Monte Carlo simulation of the process to see what the actual distribution of the prices is, since the model only outputs the expected price, and this is the result. Yeah. Next up is storage price. Full backups grow in size, and therefore their price increases with time. And incremental backups have the same size, and each backup contributes to the storage price with its size times the time we have kept it. So we see for different strategies of the interval between two consecutive full backups and two consecutive incremental backups, how the storage price changes here on the left. And the formula for that is as follows. We sum over all the backups their size times the time we have kept it. This is the storage price calculated at time t. And finally, unifying those two components, we use a constant c to relate the work rate to the storage rate. Namely, this tells us how valuable our data is related to its size, and this constant can vary from company to company, which makes our model more adaptive to different cases. And we see here on the right one example of the distribution of the strategies when the constant is 1000. These are the results from the model. In the two cases, with and without correlation of the data. We know that for the same value of C, different strategies are optimal, but the price is always lower when there is correlation of the data. And finally, here we see how exactly the clean and correlated data, here we see how the best strategies in each of the two cases performs for different values of C. As future development, I will consider non-constant work rate, but this is a huge step as it will change a significant part of the model. I will also consider more complex correlation of the data and some non-trivial connection between the work rate and the storage rate, which is now only the constant C. And I want to thank my mentor Javor Propazov and the Young Talents Club for the opportunity to present today. Thank you.
Just a minor note, the organizer of this competition is the Ministry of Education and Science, not Club Young Scientists, Young Talents.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Nicola. Do you have any questions? Members of the jury and all participants?
So I have one question to Nicola Staikov. Well, actually, can you summarize what is your main contribution in this project?
Okay, I have built a model not from scratch. It is connected to other models which consider non-constant work rate but don't consider the probability of backups failing. They only consider the storage cost. So I have added that component, and I have managed to link the two components, and I have summarized the results for different values of the constant C. This is a pretty made-up constant, but I believe it can be related with real data to companies. So yeah, each company can be described with some best fit value C. So my contribution is actually the whole model and the results. But it's based on others' work, but yeah, it's mine.
Okay, but your model has not been tested with real data yet?
No, it has not. This is a theoretical model at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Nicola, I have another question concerning RSI. So what are the latest development about RSI? How are you going to proceed? Is it cancelled or
it will take place although online. We will start in the last week of June. Yeah.
So it's earlier than usual, or exactly the same time?
I believe yes, it's the same time. But It's until the end of July.
Okay.
Staikov, question from me too.
Yeah, sure.
Can you please bring back a couple of slides? One more. One more. One more. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So here, what will change if the work rate is not constant and the increment is determined by some other function, or it is a random variable, let's say Gaussian distribution?
Well, if there is a distribution of work rates, the whole conception of intervals between two consecutive full and incremental backups will change, as we will most probably make backups when the right amount of data has accumulated. And as I mentioned, this will change the model thoroughly. But as for the storage price, it will pretty much stay the same, as we will have for each backup its size times the time we have kept it. And the only thing that will change here is the storage rate, which we will have to change to substitute with some more complex connection between the work rate, which will not be constant then. So only this S will change. It will become some kind of a distribution, probably. Yeah.
Well, you can first start with the expected. But anyway,
as for the expected value, yeah.
This is a process which I believe can be attacked. It's essentially one-dimensional random walk. If you start adding randomized daily increments, so you're still in well-studied ground, and even though it will become more complex, it's still doable. So I urge you to look into it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nicola. If there are no more questions, let's continue with the next presentation. It is by Nikolai Georgiev. Where is Nikolai?
2 minutes.
We hear you.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, it's okay now.
Can you see it?
Okay, great.
So hello, I'm Nikolai Georgiev from the Sofia High School of Mathematics, and my project is called spermatozoa-protamine 1 as a potential biomarker of RAM semen quality. And I'll start by identifying the problem. So the first part of the problem is that in sheep farming, it is expensive to raise studs, meaning the rams, the male animals that are used for reproduction. And the second part is that the reproductive quality of animals is evaluated based on the quality of their offspring. What that essentially means is that it is a lot of time needed to evaluate the stud that you have already raised and spent money on, and that already has an offspring. And if that stud turns out to be ineffective, that means...
Nikolai, excuse me for the interruption. Can you please use full screen mode?
Okay.
Thank you.
That means that the whole offspring would be damaged. So the problem that we identify here is the ineffective use of resources with lots of unnecessary costs that comes with no way of effective evaluation of the male animals used for reproduction. And so we go on to the solution. What should the solution be? So we need ways to drive risk down when choosing studs. That is essential. And what that way should be, it should be a biomarker that is important for proper reproduction and that shows genetic quality. That means that in the process of reproduction, that, for example, that gene should be very important. It should code a protein that is vital for the reproduction, and it should be a gene because it would show a genetic better chance of genetic inheritance of that good quality. And what we decided is to test if gene expression of the gene PRM1 could be that biomarker. And the next consequential question is why exactly PRM1? It's a gene that codes a protein of the group protamines. The protein is protamine 1, and it is the main nuclear protein in RAM. And why is it important? It's crucial for the packaging of DNA in sperm. 70% of all DNA in sperm, 70% of all proteins used for DNA condensation are protamines. And why is it important that the DNA is well packaged in sperm? Because sperm are essentially messenger cells. They need to deliver the DNA in the egg cell intact, because if there are even minor damages to the DNA structure, it could cause malfunction in the offspring. So, based on the importance of that protein in the process of reproduction, we hypothesized that the level of gene expression of that gene will correlate to sperm quality. So what exactly do? We do three things: variation analysis for the trait to see how it is spread throughout the RAMs that we examine, and also correlation analysis for PRM gene expression and sperm motility, as well as vitality, which are essential sperm characteristics that show sperm quality. The contribution. So the innovation in this project is found in the first, for Bulgaria, study of the levels of matrix RNA transcripts of that gene in spermatozoa of rams, and it is also important that we examine exactly that breed, the Bulgarian dairy synthetic population sheep. It's the most commonly spread type of sheep breed in Bulgaria that is used for to give milk and etc. So what are the materials and methods that we use? First, we have experimental samples from 10 rams. We had sperm that was divided, only spermatozoa that was divided from sperm plasm, and 5 of the samples were from rams that were 1 year of age, and 5 were of 4-year-old rams. Because we wanted to see whether that concrete characteristic was specific for the certain group age, or it was more individually variable among the different RAMs. So next we have isolation of total RNA with the kit. Then we have to determine the quantity of RNA, because it's important that the concentration of DNA in the initial solution was in the range that is proper for the next steps, especially for the PCR, because if it was too high or too low, it could cause disturbance in the results. Then we have reverse transcription of RNA into copied DNA, that is shown here, as well as the RAM from that breed. That here, you can see the cursor, is the process of reverse transcription. We go from single-stranded RNA to double-stranded complementary DNA. Then we use that copied DNA for real-time polymerase chain reaction. Basically, we multiply the initial amount of DNA molecules in the solution in order to pass that certain threshold at some point during the exponential growth of the molecules, and based on the time on the cycle when the threshold is passed for different samples, we can determine the initial concentration and the initial amount of copied DNA that was for that gene relative to the housekeeping gene, whose expression that we know is constant throughout, is a constant and doesn't change based on different circumstances. Then we have the real-time PCR data analysis, delta-delta CT method for relative evaluation of gene expression. That's a mathematical method used to evaluate the results that we got from the raw results from PCR. And next, we have statistical processing of the data that we collected. So what are the results? First, we have age differences in levels of the expression. We found individual variation in both high levels of individual variation in both age groups of the rams, both in 1 year and 4 years of age. And also there was no significant change in the expression between the two age groups. Then we have the correlation between levels of expression of the gene and quality of sperm. In young rams, we found correlation between both motility and the gene expression and vitality of sperm and the spermatozoan gene expression. In adult rams, the correlation between motility and the gene expression was present. However, there was no correlation between vitality and the levels of gene expression, but that is not so important because it is more important for the young rams that there are high levels of correlation. What is the conclusion? Based on the results that we got, we can conclude that that indicator, the gene expression levels of PRM1 gene, would be a suitable way of evaluating the sperm quality and reproductive qualities of the rams because of its correlation to the main characteristics of sperm and the importance in reproduction. And what this allows is an early selection of the rams that would be good studs and the disposal of those who are suspected of being poor reproductive quality, because we saw that in young rams there was correlation between both the vitality and the motility. So that would save the extremely costly maintenance of those animals that we suspect would have bad reproductive qualities. So I want to thank my supervisor, Elena Kistanova, EBIR, for letting me use the laboratories, and Mon for the funds that are used from the program ReproBiotech to finance the whole experiment. And thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Nikolai. Any questions? No?
Oh,
Maybe Professor Momikov?
What?
Sorry?
I thought that Professor Momikov is raising hand, but may have been mistaken.
Okay. Okay, once again. Any questions? Okay, if not.
Usual question, because there was something in the discussions prior to the contest. And it's also relevant for the regulations of the European contest for young scientists. And this question is, which of the experiments involved have you done on your own? Which were done under supervision? Where did you work? And which of the experiments were done by your mentor or by people in their lab, and you're just reporting analysis of the finding?
So all of the experiments were done by me and my mentor in a lab in IBIR. I did not work alone in a lab, and we basically split because we had a lot of samples, we split the samples and worked on them together.
And you were part of this lab under Education with Science or some other initiative?
Yeah, first I joined the summer course in IBIR that was about biology. I heard about it in school, It's cool, and then after that, we started doing the project after the end of that course. Was that the question?
Okay. Any other discussions?
Thank you.
Kosio?
No. These were the housekeeping questions on my side.
Okay. So thank you, Nikolai, once again. So the next project, Hristo Tudorov and Hristo Kanev.
Hello, I hope you hear me well.
Who is going to speak?
Hello. Do you hear me well?
Both of you are here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, if you are ready, go ahead.
Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we are ready. Good morning, my name is Hristo Tudorov, and I'm a student in High School of Math and Science, Kyustendil.
Hello, my name is Hristo Kanev, and I'm a student in High School of Math and Science, Academy of Math and Science.
Our scientific advisor is Dr. Stoyan Velev.
Can we wait for Hristo Kanev's video to appear?
Doesn't it?
Hristo Kanev, there is no current video connection with you.
I've enabled the camera. Just a moment. I don't know what the problem is.
Low bandwidth is the problem. Professor Kolev, I don't believe this will be fixable. It's a matter of the bandwidth of his connection, so maybe they can continue like this.
What is actually the problem?
Low bandwidth. His internet connection is not strong enough, so maybe we can continue with just the audio of him.
No, but what is the problem? We cannot see somebody or...
Бавен му е интернета. Бавен му е интернета.
Нали може да говори, значи да си спре видеото.
Добре, няма проблем, ако трябва да си.
We're continuing with audio only.
Ами само от начало я започнем или да продължим?
Start from the beginning.
Okay, thanks. Good morning, my name is Hristo Tudorov, and I'm a student in High School of Math and Science, Kyustendil.
Hello, my name is Hristo Kanev, and I'm a student in High School of Mathematics and Science, Haskell.
Our scientific advisor is Dr. Stoyan Velev.
And the project we're going to present to you is generating logo images with generative adversarial networks.
To begin with, let's make a quick introduction to the problem we are trying to solve. As you all know, there has been a lot of advances in the area of machine learning. However, artificial neural networks still cannot demonstrate a high level of intelligence that is native to humans. That's why we decided to tackle one particularly hard problem for them: generating images requiring a great amount of creativity, such as logo images.
In order to achieve this, we have developed an algorithm that works almost autonomously, and it requires very little interaction with the potential client. The main question we want to answer is to what extent can machine learning automate the job of a graphic designer? The generative adversarial network's output heavily depends on the input data they're trained with. The dataset we have chosen is the large logo dataset because of two reasons. It is composed of over 600,000 high-quality diverse images and can be used freely for academic purposes. The generative adversarial networks is the core component of our project. It consists of two neural networks which are in a full symbiosis. The first neural network is the generator. It acts like a forger, and its main task is to generate real-looking images from a random noise. The second neural network is the discriminator, and its job is to evaluate the probability that a given image is real. The discriminator is a convolutional neural network, and the generator is the convolutional neural network.
Now, let's take a look at the process of training one generative adversarial network. Actually, the introduction of the GANs made a huge breakthrough in the area of generative models, mainly because they can be trained only via backpropagation, like just a standard multi-layer perceptron, and there is no need for any Markov chains. Also, they are really unstable to train because two neural networks, not just one, are trained simultaneously, and they must be in a perfect equilibrium one with another, and they also heavily depend on each other. Experience shows that the factor affecting their training the most is the loss or cost function. We implemented three standardly popular loss functions. The first one is binary cross entropy, and was introduced in the original paper. However, it suffers from some serious problems like vanishing gradients, or gradients that are really close to zero, and mod collapse, or when the generator starts generating monotonous data and not diverse. One solution is to use another loss function, and one such function is least square loss. It is made out of the most popular error function, mean squared error. It's pretty simple actually. However, although it solves the vanishing gradient problem, the mod collapse one is still presented. So recently in 2017 there has been a huge breakthrough in that problem, and by that I mean the introduction of Wasserstein generative adversarial network. And what is a Wasserstein generative adversarial network? It is an architecture that requires some minimal changes to the discriminator, like using linear activation function. Sorry, but I can see we have some problems with the. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but sorry.
It requires minimal changes to the discriminator, like using linear activation function in its loss layer. Also, after each gradient update, its weight must be clipped to be in the range minus 0.01 to 0.01, and the discriminator must be trained for more iterations than the generator, and that makes them harder to train because the output of the discriminator is no longer a number between 0 and 1 expressing a probability, but rather a number between minus infinity to plus infinity, expressing how realistic one image looks. On the positive side, there are no signs of vanishing gradients and mod collapse. Okay, when a client typically goes to a work designer, he has some pretty important requirements, like elements that must be presented in his logo, colors, etc. After a brief research, we chose that the symbolism is the most important feature in one logo image. That led to the introduction of the conditional generative adversarial network for solving similar problems. They require one more thing for both the generator and the discriminator. A label number, indicating the class of which the generated images must be. That's because regular GANs generate the images in a completely random way, while conditional GANs generate the images only with the label the user insists on. Okay, so now comes the question, how do we extract those labels? We decided to extract them via clustering or cluster analysis. But before performing the clustering, we must extract their most important features. We do that by using transfer learning. Transfer learning is basically a field in machine learning in which pre-trained neural network, but it is trained at solving different but similar problem, is used to solve our problem. We particularly chose to use VG16, which is a 16-layer convolutional neural network developed by Oxford University, and it's trained at classifying real-world objects from the famous dataset ImageNet, like dogs, cats, birds, etc. Not only animals, but also traffic lights. Yeah. and its output is actually the probability, expressing how much that the image belongs to those classes. Now let's take a look at the second method we developed. It is via an autoencoder. And we developed it because some of the images can be pretty abstract, and neural network like VG60 may find difficulties in classifying them. An autoencoder is basically a neural network trained at learning efficient data codings. It is composed of two parts: an encoder, which we denote here in the equation by phi, that takes an input and transforms it to a code. And the main requirements for the code is to be in a lower dimension than the input and not to have any noise, only the most important features of the image. The other component is the decoder. It takes the code and its aim is to reconstruct the original image from it. Here we denote the encoder by psi. If we denote the input by x and the code by f, the process of training an autoencoder can be expressed with the following formula. Now let's take a look at the clustering. We use quite a standard clustering algorithm called k-means clustering because it does the job perfectly and we wouldn't need anything else. It views the set feature we have extracted with either one of the methods as a data point in Euclidean n space, and basically with Euclidean distance and calculating mean values, calculates some centroids, and each of the data points is assigned to the closest centroid. And after that, we just get the centroid ID for each data point, and it will be its group. And clustering is basically a method of grouping objects so that objects in one group are more similar to one another than they are to objects in other groups. So Hristo will tell you more about image processing algorithms we implemented.
We have used image processing algorithms to make the generated images look even more professional. Two main problems we're trying to solve with them is undefined or sharp edges and color. The algorithms which we are using are blurring, complementing, color changing, and the denoising autoencoder. Blurring is used for smoothing and making the edges more visible. Complementing gives us an exact copy of the original image with just colors that complement it. Color change is used if the potential client likes a given image but doesn't like the colors. He could change them to better suit his liking. And denoising autoencoder adds noise to the original image and tries to reconstruct it without any noise. For the implementation, we chose to implement the machine learning algorithms and image processing algorithms with Python because there are many great Python libraries for scientific computing available. We have used the following ones: Python 3 for the implementation, TensorFlow 2.0, NumPy, OpenCV, Matplotlib, scikit-learn, and Pil. Additionally, we developed a web application with Django, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. For the training of the deep neural networks, we have utilized the technology NVIDIA CUDA. Here are some of the results we have achieved so far. We have mostly completed our goal. The logo images are unique and good looking. Even though those with round shapes dominate over the others, with more training, we could achieve even better results. Even though the capabilities of machine learning algorithms are growing rapidly, it's still hard for them to match the skills and creativity of a graphic designer. Despite that, we have managed to achieve very good results that we can improve even further.
Our future plans include training the neural networks for more iterations so that we can achieve even better results. We would also like to implement new image processing algorithms so that the generated images will get a more professional look. And we would also like to expand our area of research into other UI elements such as pictograms in order just to prove the generality of this approach. Now let's talk about our personal contribution. we developed an architecture which is composed of many algorithms and many kinds of neural networks. So we morphed them, we sometimes edited them, etc. We also chose the right hyperparameters and tuned them. That's actually the hardest things in creating neural networks, choosing the hyperparameters. And the end product was a system capable of producing great results. We also clarified and addressed the main challenges that can be faced by generative models, which try to generate UI elements requiring a great amount of creativity, such as wall images. And that was it. Thank you for your attention.
Have you got any questions?
Thank you, Hristo. Do you have any questions?
Question from me, if I may.
Okay,
Yes,
yes, Koshov.
Can you please bring slide number 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you please explain what is what here?
Well, could you please repeat? Sorry.
Can you please explain the notation here?
Okay, so which one of the binary cross entropy or the least squares was?
Both. They use the same notation.
Yeah, they actually use the same notation. Okay, so I didn't say that, but generative adversarial networks can actually be viewed as a minimax game, where the generator with the objective V, when the generator's job is to minimize V and the discriminator's job is to maximize V. So the generator tries to make the discriminator lose the game, and of course the discriminator wants to win the game. So as you can see, the output, as we said actually, the output of the discriminator is a number between 0 and 1, when 1 indicates perfectly real image and 0 indicates perfectly faked image. So the discriminator's job is to give 1 for the...
Not the mechanism of work of the generative adversarial networks, although this is also interesting. What, for example, is D of X? What is E double stroke? And so on.
Okay, so as you can see, logarithm, pretty basic. D from Higgs is the discriminator of output from Higgs, image Higgs. G from Z, Z is a noise, and G from Z is the generated image from noise Z, and D from G from Z is the discriminator's choice from that image. And binary cross entropy actually measures how different some loss functions are. Sorry. How different two probabilities are.
Wait, what measures how different the probabilities are, and which probabilities are we speaking of?
The probabilities, I mean, the right probability for real image is 1, and the right probability from fake image is 0, and the discriminator's output...
What do you mean the probability is 0? If the probability is 0...
then they're not real, it's completely fake.
Yeah.
So...
You mean the probability that the generated image has a certain characteristic?
Yes, just like that.
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
And this probability is assigned by the neural net?
Yeah, that's actually the discriminator's output. And later, generator is trained according
What is
to that.
E double stroke?
What?
What is the double stroke E? The big letter E.
I'm very sorry, I can't hear.
The letter E.
unfortunately, we don't know what the letter E is.
Check your chat.
What?
Look at your chat.
Oh, the letter E. What is E? Sorry, but we can't answer right now, I think, unless Christo can.
Well, if Christo can, I'd be interested.
No, we don't actually know what E means. It's probably something to do with the probability of the real image that is given from the data set and the generator.
Professor Kolev, I don't have further questions.
Okay, we don't have enough time also. So thank you once again, Christo. We continue with next talk. Antoine Georgiev. Antoine?
Yes. Hello.
Are you ready?
I hope you can hear me and see me. Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. Let me just share my screen. All right. You should be able to see my screen now. So the thing I'm going to be talking today is getting fit in virtual reality. And this is basically the application that I developed. It's called Aberrant, and it presents a novel method of getting fit while staying in virtual reality. And by the way, it was the first Oculus Quest concept that was approved and created by Bulgarian developer, because getting published to the Quest is extremely competitive. But this is something I'm going to elaborate on a little bit later. So this is the anthem of my project, even though it may look a little bit obsolete, because defy reality. I mean, it sounds so basic. Truth is, we have already been through that process multiple times. What do I mean by that? I mean media. Human history is marked by progression of media used to convey and experience ideas. And one of the most recent steps in this progression is the use of virtual reality. Frankly speaking, recorded history begins with people painting on the caves. They painted their hunts, they painted their stories, and they basically expressed the happenings of their life. And it was the importance of communication that raised the storyteller to a position of high esteem within a community. And that's how media started to evolve. And in the most recent century, technology started to grow apart really hard. These paintings and these technologies transcend the physical experience they depict. They express much more than we can see. And that's what makes it unique. That's what makes media unique. And that's what makes VR really interesting. For the last couple of years, VR has been growing extremely hard, and people have been really interested about VR, and especially in the time of quarantine, analytics show that more and more people are getting VR. In fact, all of the Oculus headsets are now sold out, and you can't buy one because they don't exist. I mean, everyone has already bought them. And this is what makes the technology extremely interesting. VR is a new medium, which is brought by the technological advances with much experimentation. And this experimentation is taking place in order to find practical applications. And I have to point on practical because when you think about VR, you mostly associate it with games, which is true, but not entirely true. For example, VR seems to be extremely useful when it comes to simulations. A lot of companies do their simulations. A lot of doctors, surgeons do simulations in VR. There are a lot of military simulations, but in general, these things are not available to the larger public. I mean, if you're in a company, yes, you can play the demo, but if you're outside of a company, you can't play the demo. You can mostly play games or watch movies. And this is something that we're trying to avoid and make VR a little bit better. So, before I move on with my project, I'm going to talk a little bit about this guy.
Oculus Quest is the most innovative VR headset ever made, and there is one big reason why. There are no cables. The headset that I'm going to be presenting today, the Oculus Rift, has so many cables. There are also sensors, which makes the technology not that comfortable. I also got my Oculus Quest, but I'm not going to present with it because I can connect it with my computer. But the thing is, Oculus Quest put a new perspective about how we could use VR, because you basically have no limits now. You don't have cables. You can literally turn on the Oculus Quest and play while you're lying on your bed. And in order to make things better, we're trying to build an application that can actually make your lifestyle better. Before I move on my project, I want to emphasize on how hard it is to publish a game to the Oculus Quest. So these are the three headsets that Oculus sells, and I currently have a project that is published on the Oculus Go store. The Oculus Go is the least popular VR headset. It's a standalone, which means you don't need anything, but its capabilities are limited. Oculus Quest is just like the Oculus Rift, but it doesn't need any PC, which makes it so powerful and so convenient. And publishing to the Oculus Quest is hard, but this is something I'm going to elaborate on a little bit later. So, when I built my project for the Oculus Go, I think you're all familiar with it because I presented it last year. I got a lot of feedback that the game isn't intuitive enough, that you need to use VR more than you do, and that you just need to make people listen to you and make the game more interactable. And here's what I did. I used it for fitness. Even though fitness is something extremely relative, my game is based on an academical research which I have cited in the bottom. That said something very interesting, at least for me. It says that I'm going to explain it a little bit simpler because you see, I have cited exactly what the conclusion is. But if you play a game and you do have exercises, but you have fun, you exercise more than you think. Which means that you don't even realize how much effort you put into playing the game. Which is a great opportunity for people to stay fit, even though I'm not the fittest person on earth, but a lot of people can be. So here's what I do. As you can see, I'm basically keeping the tower game, but the thing is now the player has to throw the cube onto the bigger tower. What's the deal? This movement is extremely catchy and extremely, it's hard for people. It trains your biceps and triceps right here, and it is fun. It is a little bit challenging from the first glance, but it is actually it's very intuitive and very catchy. And I'm basically keeping the old concept. Some people might not be familiar with my project, with my previous projects. I'm going to elaborate on a little bit. So basically, just like as you can see in the picture, we have a tower of cubes, and you have a cube right here. And this cube has to stay as close as possible to the previous one. So if you fail to place the cube correctly, the incorrect part is cut, and you keep on with what's left. And this continues when you finally have nothing to place, and that's when you lose the game. And other than the mechanics that I have developed, I have currently created an achievement system and a couple of game modes that make the game more intuitive and more viable and easy to access for people of all ages. For example, my sister says that the game is too hard. My dad says that the game is too easy. So we want to avoid that. We want to make sure that every single person has all the opportunities he needs to have. And before I move on, I'm going to do a short demo. So this one is going to be a little bit catchy. I'm going to grab my headset because I want you to see the movements that I do. Can you see me well? You should see my face. All right. Let me just open the demo. Can you just let me know if you see the screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, so right
The screen is visible, but with very low frame rate.
the frame rate is low. That's interesting because it's running in 120 frame rate for me. Okay, I'm going to explain what I do. Okay, so basically we have just moved to the tutorial. That explains. Let me just reset the scene. Maybe the frame rate will get better. So the goal is to throw the cube onto the tower. And here's what we do. Let me just open the scene in case it is better. Is the frame rate still low, Gusty?
Yes, frame rate is abysmal. We are speaking of several frames per second at most.
Oh, that's bad. I'm trying to show this way I created the video. Okay, so I guess I'm going to move to the video. I tried to demonstrate, I got some of your relatives in what I can like to express, but in this case I'm simply going to move on to the video and to elaborate it a little bit more. Okay, that's the disadvantage of VR. It sometimes gets catchy, and especially in this case there is nothing wrong with my computer, but I suppose there is something wrong with the frame rate that the WebEx meeting allows. I suppose it's probably limited, and that's why the frame rate was low. Anyway, let's move on back to the video and explain. That's the idea. As simple as it works, as achievable as it looks, it is actually catchy. It is powerful. It is. It requires a lot of energy. At least me, I start sweating in around 10 minutes of playing, and I'm not a person that sweats that easy. And we're just on our way to start. And here's what I mean by that. So by getting approved to the Oculus Quest, I was assigned 10 testers that were provided by Oculus in order to further analyze the benefits and disadvantages of Valorant. Because every single game has good points, but it also has its bad points. The good point is that it is a valuable option to exercise without actually putting much effort or without actually thinking that you're putting much effort. A lot of testers, and including even Costa before, told me that there could be tendon-vaginate concerns, which means that if you use the same muscle too much, something wrong may become with it. So these tendon-vaginate concerns have been disapproved by the requirement to use both of the hands, which means that I have set up the gameplay that way, so you can grab your right controller, place the cube again, then you have to throw the cube with your left hand. So this way we're using both of the player's muscles, and yes, that's the reason we're trying to use both of the hands in order to avoid any safety concerns, because as always, safety comes first. So in conclusion, I would like to say that Aberrant presents a novel method of training without putting much effort, which can go viral in certain cases. As the technology is getting bigger and bigger, as we're currently in quarantine and people just need things to do in order to keep themselves fit. So if you have any questions, I'm open to asking answering them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Antoine. Any questions?
I have a question, may I?
Yes.
Yes, several times you mentioned efforts, much efforts. Do you use some objective physical measurement of the efforts in order to evaluate them?
Yep. Okay, thanks for your question. I do use measurements. In fact, my game is based on physics, and there's one law we're actually focusing on. It is the second law of, I'm not entirely sure how to express it. Never mind. It's the F equals m square A, which is Newton's second law, and we basically calculate the force by the mass and the acceleration. So yes, my game is based on the force that people use, and it turns out that they don't really they put some effort, but the thing is they don't really realize that, because as I said, my game is based on this research, which is extremely challenging and extremely interesting. It was actually published for another game called Beat Saber, which is probably the best way to get your feet. And it turns out that a lot of people played without even realizing how much effort they've been putting. So yes, I've been calculating that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Can you please repeat the second law of Newton?
It should be F equals m squared A. M times A. Sorry.
M times A, not m squared, please.
Yep. I just couldn't express it. I mean, I'm bad with terms.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Antoine, once again. Now, according to the program, what follows is break until 11:15. Okay, see you at 11:15.
Okay, so I think we can start right now. So this is Slava, AJ, and Ivana.
Yes.
They are all here.
Yes, we are here.
So, who of you will start presenting?
I guess you can see me now.
It's you, Ivana Velikova.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, you will start the presentation.
Are your two colleagues here?
Yes, the others are here. I saw them. So you're sharing your screen and you can start.
Okay. So I guess you can see my presentation.
We can see your teammates too.
Okay.
Okay, start please.
Hello, my name is Ivana Velikova.
My name is Sara Dimitrova.
I am Ziyaeva.
And we are students in Savadobrovodny Secondary School Shumen. And today we are going to present you our project, Biogas for the Bulgarian Village. Unemployment is prevalent in the villages, and people mainly use solid fuels for heating. The reason is that most of them live below the poverty line, and their main livelihood is linked to growing on crops and livestock for personal use. Forests are massively cut down, and because of that, the amount of dust particles in the air is increasing more and more. And most biowaste is used solely for fertilization. So our idea is to use this biowaste for heating, and the key to that is biogas.
Biogas has been used for over 200 years before even electricity was discovered in steel lamps known as gas lamps. Our main goal is to create a system for the production of biofuels in the beginning for small places like greenhouses and barns. This is cheaper heating and also will help with the reduction of greenhouse gases. Due to the use of agricultural crops, a lot of agricultural areas are deforested, and the production of biofuels from raw materials will help to solve this problem too. We will also reduce littering by using bio-waste, which people don't know much about and they just throw it away.
When designing the project, we considered the overall concept, and after that we consulted with chemistry and physics teachers to have a better understanding of which are the best practices for building such a system. Then we sketched out a scheme to see how the system will look like, and then we created a 3D model for the most accurate project rendering. And last, we calculated the cost of the materials needed to build it. And to test the system, we developed a mini prototype with the help of parents and tested it. For this purpose, we used a blowtorch, vinyl pipes, ball valve, fittings, T adapters, a cork stopper, copper pipe, a balloon, and a water tube. So the biological wastes we use to produce the biogas were liquid and solid manures, bio-waste from the households of the villagers, raw materials such as corn silage and non-cereals, and of course we used footpath and grass.
Well, this is the way how the system works. Bio-waste is dissolved with water and then placed in a small barrel. And by the example of docked vessels, the mixture all goes from the small barrel to the large one. And under the influence of heat, fermentation, and gas release into the large barrel begins. Through the copper pipes, the released gas pass through the rich metal box, and spark center the metal box and the gas ignites. And warm air passes through the metal ducts and heads to the room. Instead of releasing the exhaust gas into the atmosphere, it passes through the copper pipe into the large barrel and heats during the winter months. In the winter, the barrel is wrapped into styrofoam and aluminum foil to maintain the temperature at which system operates at its best. And in the summer, the exhaust gases are collected in the tires, and the collected gas can be used for domestic purpose. Any steady waste is drained from the large barrel, and water and organic fertilizer are included in the composition. Organic fertilizer has a higher concentration of mineral and trace elements. The nitrogen contained in the dirt is more easily digestible in the plants. Biomass methane production is carried out at various stages of inorganic matter conversion and could be used for fertilizing crops.
There are many advantages of biogas production, and one of them includes the variety of raw materials that can be used, from agricultural waste such as straw, grass, leaves, or animal farm waste, to waste and sewages containing organic waste. Studies show that more than 80% of the organic components in biomass are converted to fuel. So in anaerobic fermentation, which happens in our system, nitrogen and phosphorus are mineralized, and the fermentation residual is an excellent fertilizer for crop nutrition. And at the biomass source, the biogas production can be carried out directly.
The environmental footprint left by the biogas installation is high. The energy that is produced is renewable, and separately, carbon dioxide that is released into the atmosphere by the fermentation process is still below that it can be used as product development. Also, the system produces methane in the atmosphere.
In the beginning, we are focused on the heating of small spaces such as greenhouses and farms, but in the future we will focus on building heating systems for the households of the villagers. Biogas also can be used as, it can be used for and in the household. In addition, the remnants of our project, which is a biofertilizer, can be used to fertilize the crops. And in this regard, we will develop a system for their use in fertilizing the greenhouses.
Biotor saves the care associated with the use of matter like weeds, plant burning, coder, and more, and the need for watering decreased. Fertilizer application with Biotor extracts reduces the needs for pest control, and incorporating organic fertilizer into crop production increases germination age by up to 4 times and germination up to 40%. This leads to reduced seed purchase costs. And studies show that fruit fertilized with organic fertilizer ripen faster by 10 to 40 days, and this ensures higher prices and energy savings when produced in biogas-heated greenhouses. Yields increase between 30% and 50% depending on the crop, which provides additional income. And the production is environment friendly, high in taste and nutritional in quality, high in vitamins and low in nutrients.
The project can be considered in several aspects, social, economical, and ecological. Ecological because it is aimed at protecting the environment, social because it targets people with low social status, and economical because it is made mainly of recycled materials.
Our idea is to make people environmentally educated, motivated, and conscious. We should invest in health, which is the greatest aspect of our life, and the formation of environmental education is a global necessity, and that's why it's time to become aware. Before we finish, we want to say special thanks to Elisaveta Dimova. She is a physics and chemistry teacher. We want to say special thanks to Madlena Stancheva. She is our mentor. And we want to say, last but not least, special thanks to Christian Petkov, because he created the 3D model for our project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. And now it's time for questions from the jury. Colleagues, do you have any questions?
May I have?
Of course.
You haven't mentioned any sources to present your idea. It is much exploited, technologically well-developed problem, even for domestic purposes. So have you any other sources except your teachers? Another question is, have you tried to control some of the parameters in purpose to optimize the process? So it is very important to know what temperature is inside the barrel, what is the pH, to try to the anaerobic condition inside, and even to control the waste, because you use a mixture of different wastes. So it is very important to know, are there any toxic products inside, like pesticides or herbicides, which killed all the process. Even if pH is lower than 6.5, it is also toxic for the bacteria.
Jay, are you able to answer this question?
I'll try. We actually tested the system in a village, I think a month ago, with the farmers there, and they actually have pretty positive outbacks, and we consulted with the chemistry teacher, and she told us about the raw materials that we can use for the fermentation. And actually, we can use any kind of raw materials, but the key substance is animal manure for the best fermentation, and for it to be in a faster fermentation.
Okay, are there any other questions? actually not exactly a question, but something like a command. So, when you write a project like this, in which you present some new idea, so it's always a good idea to include information what has been done in this field before you. And after that, you present what is the innovative thing in your project. Okay, so any other questions? I don't think so. No, thank you for the presentation. And now I think it's time for the next project. It will be presented by Ivan Venslav Georgiev. Are you here, Ivan? Ivan Georgiev?
May I start?
Yes, we can see you, we can hear you clearly, so I think you can start your presentation now.
So my name is Ivan Venslav Georgiev. I'm going to present you my presentations, analysis of the generalized queen problem. First of all, the project is nearly connected to the chess figures and especially chess boards. So I have in the paper I have shown different searches of rooks, knights, queens, and queen knights, where queen knights are figures that can attack both like queens and knights. So the 8 queen problem is a problem in which you have to place 8 queens in a chess table so that no two of them attack each other. So the main aim of the project is to analyze the problem using mathematical methods, not only computer algorithms. And let's define AK knight. A knight that attack a square which is 1 square away horizontally and a square away vertically, or vice versa. And logically, 1K queen knight, a figure that can attack both like queen and a 1K knight. So let's start with the fundamental results for chessboard 8x8. That's a lemma which you can see the full solution in my paper. So it says that exactly 4 of the 8 queens are placed on black, and exactly 4 of queens are placed on white square. And the first step is to prove that there are even number of both covers of queens, and that's because when we sum up all the coordinates of the table, we have even number. So the queens placed on a square with odd sum of coordinates are even. And now only we need to see that if the configuration consists 8 white and 0 black, or vice versa, and 6 white or 2 black, it makes a contradiction. So the next thing we will show is more complicated, and it would be a lot harder if we don't have the previous lemma, and that's if we cover the table in 4 covers, like this you can see in the left. There are exactly 2 queens of each cover. First of all, we have the system of 4 equations, which is true because there is exactly 1 queen in each row and each column. And from the previous lemma, we have that the queens in the first plus this in the 4th cover are 4, and this in the 2nd plus this in the 3rd cover are also 4. And then when we solve the system, we have that there are exactly 2 queens in each of the covers. Now let's continue with the harder figure, that's the queen knight. We will see what's happened when we try to place a maximum number of queen knights in a table. First, let's consider a 3x8 table, in which there are no queen knights in the first and the last row. In this way, we can see that there are at most 2 pieces, because they will attack each other otherwise. So when we continue to the problem with table 8 by 8, we can see three overlapping tables 3 by 8, which means that the queens in the third and the sixth column are in the first and the last row. So without loss of generality, let's there are queen knights in 3-8 and 6-1. There are the two queens in the medium two columns has to attack each other, which also makes contradiction. That means that we can place at most 7 queen knights in a table 8 by 8. Now let's see what's happening when we consider bigger tables. First, this problem, which has been given on the Harvard and MIT mathematical competition this year, which I attended. There the problem was for 8 by 8 table, but we generalized it to 4K by 4K. And the question is how many ways are there to place 2K rooks on black square and 2K rooks on white square, so that no two of them attack each other. First of all, which you can of course can see the full proof in the paper, but it's easy to see that there are equal number of rooks in the odd columns and in even columns. So we have 2K above K to choose the columns, and then 2K factorial above K factorial for their representations along these rows, and respectively K factorial square for the D's on the odd column. So that number is the total number of ways. Now let's continue with queens and knight queens. So let's max n be the maximum number of queens we can place in table n by n. It's easy to see it can be more than n, because in each column we have most one queen. So here you can see example when n is equal 1 to 0, 1, 4, or 5 modulo 6. And for when n is equal 2 or 3, there's another example, because if you build the example like in the previous one, there will be 2 queens attacking each other diagonally. So now the next problem is a little bit more complicated. We look at it because there are like additional sense which says us that each queen has attack at most one another. This is also a generalization of a problem given to Serbian National Mathematical Olympiad in 2016. And we again are searching for the maximum number of queens we can place. First of all, we can place n queens. So m minus n rows will have 2 queens, and 2n minus m queens will be alone in their rows. And then we have these limits for m. And now here you can see the different limits for m according to different number of which n is equal to modulo 6. And examples for each of the cases are similar. We will see example for when n is equal 1 modulo 6. Here you can see the example on C, where A is this table 6 by 6, and B is a square table with length n minus 1 over 6. And on C you can see each queen in A attacks another. The one queen in the corner doesn't attack each other, doesn't attack with other queen. You can see that the example works, and the limits is holds. Now one conjecture which my mentor and I have made, that's that for bigger than 9n, we can place 1k queen knights. It's because it's bigger than 9, because we already have shown you the case where n is 8. And it looks like when n is bigger, it's easier to place a bigger amount of queen knights. So for now we have example when n is equal to k square plus 1, and we place the queens in the given way. And our hope is in the future to prove that conjecture that for every n greater or equal to 10, it holds. So we have shown you the different approaches. As you can see the researches about knights in the paper, because I didn't present it to you because of the limits of time. So also you can see that these problems are widely connected with the problems which are given on mathematical competitions. And we have presented lemmas and theorems that can assist people which want to prepare for different competitions. And finally, in the future, we plan to find more problems which can illustrate our proven facts. Also consider another figures, and of course prove the conjecture. And I would like to thank my mentor Stanislav Harizanov, high school student Institute of Mathematics and Summer Research School, for opportunity they gave me to make this research. Dimitar Chekarov and Victoria Christov for help with the project, and my high school teacher in mathematics, Vanya Donova.
Okay, Ivan, thank you for the presentation. Now, questions from the jury. Are there any questions? Okay, so I have a little bit general question. So actually, can you summarize briefly what's your personal contribution to the problem?
My personal contribution is improving the facts about the 8 queen problem, which actually helped for fastening the algorithm for algorithm that tells us what's the maximal amount of queen knights that can be placed in table n by n, and in generalizing some problems from mathematical competitions for a bigger table.
Okay, thank you. So, any other questions? No, I think. Okay, so thank you, Ivan, once again. And now we can continue with the next project, which will be presented by Emin Arifov. So, Emin, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so
Yep.
so you can start sharing your screen with us.
First, Ivan needs to.
Yes, Ivan, please, can you remove your screen?
Okay, good. Okay.
Can you tell me how?
Go to the WebEx meeting, and there's a stop share screen.
I can see. It's now okay?
Okay. Okay, Emin?
Yeah.
You can start presenting right now.
Okay. Am I sharing my screen?
We can see your screen.
Okay, good.
I'm seeing my name there.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, wait. So, I'm Emin Arifov. thank you for my introduction, and I'm from High School of Mathematics Academic Kirpov from Poldev, and I would like to present my project called NIM Games with Powers of Coins. So firstly, NIM games are popular in national and international mathematics competitions. This paper is concerned with impartial combinatorial games NIMs, and in particular with their normal and measure play of such games. We have so far generalized our partial results. We have obtained the problems and lemmas, different lemmas. So we have so far focused on the combinatorial games with piles of coins, like I thought. So firstly, we'll start with preliminaries. The main definition of our project is what's a NIM game. The combinatorial NIM games is a two-player game with no hidden information and no chance elements. Both players have exactly the same moves available at all times. So, what's the main problem? We have two piles of coins having M and having N coins, respectively. Two players, player 1 and player 2, make moves and alternate each other. So, on each move, the player takes X coins from one of the piles and adds Y coins to the other one. So, the player 2 makes the same one, and moreover, the X is in the subset X and Y is in the subset Y. So where X and Y, which are subsets, are given non-empty set of integers. The player who cannot make the move loses the game. That's the normal play of the NIM games. There's a measure play, but that's a far in our project, like in the paper. So the main goal is to determine, depending on M, N, X, and Y, who has a winning strategy. So firstly, we'll start with the lemma. Should assume minimal X, which is in the subset X, bigger than the maximum Y. And when M is equal to N, the second player has a winning strategy. So in the proof, the coins in the two piles are N minus X and M plus Y. If the first player chooses pile N and subtracts X and adds to the second Y, so then the coins became N minus X plus Y and N plus Y minus X. That's the second player. And we have equal piles of coins, which you can see, but they're just mixed. So since X is bigger than Y, coins decrease and the second player always has a valid move. Therefore, the first loses. That's the main lemma, which we can halfway to the our results. So in lemma 2, we should assume that there exists an integer A such that A is in the subset X and subset Y, then the game diverges, so there's no end. In the proof, the second player can always negate the first player moves. Like after the first players, the two players are N minus A and M plus A. And then the second player can just add A to the minus A pile and subtract A from the plus A pile. And we are gaining the initial configuration. So yeah, the game diverges. So in the first problem, we have to solve the game for any Mn when X is equal to 2 and 3 and Y is equal to 1. So in the solution, we should proceed by filling the following table. It's in table which we proceed the examples, like 0, 0, that means the first player have a losing strategy, but that table is presenting win and lose situations in this lemma. So we have, actually, it's easy to see that the results are M minus N is congruent to 0, 1, 6 by module 7, and then the M pair Mn is losing pair, and if M minus N is congruent to 2, 3, 4, and 5 by module of 7, then pair Mn is winning pair. So in the proof, given that we deal with concurrent numbers, it's sufficient to prove that these modules are right. So we need to exhaust our possible cases. There are 2 cases, and there are 4 subcases in each case. So pair Mn is losing pair, and what can be done by the first player? He can add 1 and subtract 2. He can add 1. He can subtract 3. He can subtract 3 from the first one and add 1 to the second one, and he can subtract 3 from the first one and add 1 to the second one. And after verifying these subcases by module of 7, we get the result. So in the second case, it's similar, but pair Mn is winning pair. Again, therefore, subcases the same one. And after verifying these subcases similar in module of 7, we get the result. So the proof is ready. Problems which we have solved. That's the table presenting results with y equals to 1. And we have examined x equals to 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 5, and 2 to 5. And in the generalizations, we have the lemma from the last 4 problems. We prove that m minus n is congruent to 0, 1, and a plus 3 by module of a plus 4. Then pair Mn is losing pair. And if m minus n is congruent to 2, 3, and all the way up to r a plus 2, that means by module of a plus 4, that means the pair Mn is a winning pair. When x is equal to 2 all the way up to a, and when y is equal to 1. So problems which we have solved with different y. We have 3, 3, 4, 3, 5, 4, and 3, 5, 3, 4, 6. Again, we're doing generalizations of these 4 problems. So we have m minus 1, m minus n is congruent to 0, 1, 2, a plus 5, and a plus 6 by module of a plus 7. Then the pair is losing 1. And if this m minus n is congruent to these numbers all the way up here, like 3, 4, 5, 6, and to a plus 4, that means by module of a plus 7, then pair Mn is winning pair when x is 3, 4, 5 to a and y is 2. So problems which we have solved with different y, but this time the y is 3. We have solved that with 4, 5, 4, 5, and 4, 5, 6. In these generalizations, we have analogically from the last 3 problems, we prove that m minus n is congruent to 0, 1, 2, 3, a plus 7, a plus 8, a plus 9, and by module of a plus 10. Then the pair Mn is losing pair, and that's the strategies. And if m minus n is congruent to 4, 5 to all the way up to a plus 6 by module of a plus 10, then the pair Mn is winning pair. And when this happens when x is equal to 4, 5 to all the way up to a, and y, which is equal to 3. And in the final generalizations, we need to solve the game for any Mn when x is c plus 1 to any number to a, and y is number c minus 1. So we proceed by induction. In the step 1, we need to examine the trivial case, which is m minus n is congruent to 0 by this model which we have worked since the model is we need to get this number, and the last one. Yeah. So by model a plus 3c minus 2, and then in step 2 we need to let pair Mn be a losing one. Then all the remainders of the subcases are losing by this model. And in step 3, we examine the last member, which is m minus n minus, like I told, a minus this one, which is a plus c plus 1. It has a remainder 2c minus 1 by this model, which is a remainder from losing here, from losing strategy, according to step 2 of the induction, and we get the result. So, in conclusion, I have to say that we have covered in detail one of the main games of NIMP. we have formally described what a combinatorial game of NIM with piles of coins and two-player looks like, and we have examined consecutive problems and generalized them for future usage. We have tried to add more players and more piles, but the results are not pleasant as these were. So they are in the paper. In the future development of the current projects consists of several ideas. We will consider problems under misère play, which was the play if the player which can make the last move, he loses. We may add temporary pile which would store the coins until someone takes them back. There are some other problems in names like Chaos, Grundy's game, and Wito's game. I found it pretty interesting Wito's game, and it could be very interesting to see what the results it can be here. I would like to thank my Professor Emil Kolev. He was my mentor. So I would like to thank Dmitry Chikirov, to Konstantin Delchev, Antoine Georgiev, to all the people here. So, and I would like to thank you for the attention.
Okay, Emin, thank you for the presentation. So, just let me remind you once again to respect the time. Now it's time for questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Emin, could you please show the slide with lemma 2?
Okay. This one.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
So we assume here that there exists integer a, such that a is from x, and at the same time a is from y.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is true that if the first player plays n minus y, n minus a, and n plus a, then the second player can do the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yes, but you have probably other integers in the set x. So what happens if the first player choose a, but he chooses some other integer from x?
Yeah,
then
but
the second player is not able to reverse the move.
Yeah, but that's the point. Like, if we have like x is equal to 1, 2, 3, and y is 1. If x chooses 3 and y chooses 1, because he can. No, actually, y can choose from x as well. So if first player chooses 2 and subtracts 2, the other player can choose to subtract 2 from the other pile and add 1 to the first one. And this one needs to be should be additionally add 1 from to the second player. Can I draw here?
Yes. Okay.
You can draw. On the left of your screen, there is a small snake-like icon. Click it, and you will be able to draw.
Okay. Okay, so if x is equal to 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, well, this also works.
And y, or then y, is equal to 1, just the first player just subtracts whatever he wants from here, and the piles became n minus 3. Let's say he subtracts 3 from the first one, and then adds 1 to the second one. And the second player can subtract 3 from the second one and adds 1 to the first one. Let me clear them and write again. Oops. It's very hard to write. Oh damn. So that's the configuration which the first player does. He subtracts 3 and adds 1 to the second pile, and that one just subtracts adds 1 here and just 3 here, and the piles are equal. Like he can counter every move which the first player does. Am I clear?
Why do you need then A and X, X and Y to have common element?
No, I'm telling that if we have a common element, we can solve the game. The game diverges. The game doesn't have an end. It's a tie, like. And if you have a tie, we can.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That is my question. If they have common elements, say X is 1, 2, 3, and Y is only 1, then.
Or it can be whatever number it wants. It's not. It doesn't need to be 1.
Okay, let's say 1.
Okay, let's say 1.
Okay, then you have the condition of your lemma.
Yeah.
Because there exists an integer A, which is 1 in this case, and Y is from X, and 1 is from Y.
Yeah.
So you have now X is 1, 2, 3, and Y is only 1. What is the procedure such that the game doesn't end?
Doesn't end. Yeah, that's true. It can be actually very like the first one subtracts 3, and if the second pair like just subtracts 2 from here and adds 1 to here, he can be easily beaten up, and it's a lose for the second player, and it's a win for the first one. Do you understand? Like, if we have a table which can be with the results, and there's a 1, 2, 1, 2 here, that's MN, and there's a 1, 1. He can choose to subtract 1 and add 1 to the other one, and then the second player, he can easily win, but he can also lose. Do you understand? Like, there's a tie everywhere, every time.
I mean, please excuse me for the interruption, but please be as brief as possible because it's time for the next reporter.
Yeah. If.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move with the next presentation.
Let's move on. So thank you, once again.
Thank you.
Please switch off your screen share.
Yeah.
And it's now time for Martina Ivanova. Are you here, Martina?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. So now you have to start your presentation.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. I think we all can see you and we can hear you clearly.
So I'm gonna
share your screen.
I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah.
Can you see anything?
No.
Oh.
There's a reason why we wanted you to test this.
Yeah. Yes, I'm so sorry. Сега. Now, can you see anything?
Absolutely anything. I'm just seeing your mouse and something like maybe gray field or something like that. I have no idea what's going on. What kind of device are you using?
I'm using PowerPoint for my presentation, but
What's the hardware device?
can I start talking, please?
It will be really better to see your presentation. So is there any chance to succeed in sharing your presentation? In 2 minutes?
If you give me 1 minute, please.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Start. Now we can see your probably Explorer.
Can you see my presentation?
Not yet.
Oh,
Yet.
I'm trying.
Again, I can see your Windows Explorer probably.
Okay. I think I'm gonna open my presentation.
Hopefully.
Okay, can you see it now?
No. Okay. Okay, now I can see it.
Okay, I'm so sorry for that. Can I start talking now?
Absolutely. Start, please. First of all, full screen and start talking.
Okay. Hello, my name is Martina Ivanova and I'm 14 years old. I'm from Dobrich, Bulgaria. My project is diabetes mellitus as a serious medical problem, as a serious medical and social problem. With it,
full screen, please.
okay. With it, I want to present and show how much diabetes causes harm to people's health, what a dangerous disease it really is, and what preventive measures can be taken by people at risk of diabetes. I have presented a social survey on 85 patients from my town for the period 2017-2020, and I have described everything in details in tables in order to get the best understanding. I have my own history of diabetes, but I was able to overcome it with a great deal of hard work and ambition because I want to live a happy and fulfilling life without this serious illness, also known as 21st century disease. This project is very important to me because my dream is to become a doctor from a very young age. Through this project, I am aimed to help as many people as possible overcome the disease and live life to the fullest. Now, I think about telling you a little about diabetes and its features, and I hope to intrigue you. Diabetes mellitus is a syndrome of disordered metabolism with inappropriate hyperglycemia due to absolute deficiency of insulin secretion or reduction of biologic effectiveness of insulin or both. Unfortunately, it is a pandemic disease with worldwide disruption, and the number of diabetics rises with every year. It is a socio-economic problem. Too much expenses for treatment of the chronic complications.
Martina, excuse me for the interruption. Can you please try not to read? Just tell us about your project. Don't read it, please.
Okay, there are four main types of diabetes, but type 1 diabetes must be managed with insulin injections, and type 2 diabetes may be treated with medications or without insulin, with or without insulin. So I'm gonna tell you about main types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is called diabetes of the young. Insulin dependent, usually leading to absolute insulin deficiency The only possible treatment is with insulin-different regimens of applications. Type 2 diabetes may range from insulin resistance with relative insulin deficiency to secretory defect with insulin resistance. This is the most common type of diabetes. Here, change of lifestyle is very important, passive treatment, and sometimes the only necessary step. Type 3 is the diabetes of the pregnant women, gestational diabetes. Other specific types is maybe we can call it type 4, genetic defects of the B cells of the pancreas, genetic syndromes, the cases of exocrine pancreas, endocrinopathies, drug and chemical-induced diabetes. Usually, gestational diabetes is the third main form and occurs when pregnant women without a previous history of diabetes develop high blood sugar levels. Sometimes it is easy to recognize diabetic patients with type 1. They're slim, they eat too much but lose weight, they drink too much water, they are always thirsty, they don't sleep well because they urinate in every single hour, they complain of blurred vision, fatigue, and paresthesia. Type 2 diabetics, the most common type, is sometimes very difficult to recognize. Represents 85 to 19% of all the cases of diabetes. They have extra weight, skin infections, leg cramps, dizziness, and specific complaints. That's why doctors find out their problem too late because of the late complications of the diabetes. These are the problems with eyes, kidneys, legs, wounds that couldn't heal easily. That's why it's very important to find out patients before the start of their problems, to teach them how to refine carbs and cut sugar from their diet, work out regularly, drink water as primary beverage, and quit smoking and using of tobacco. I'm gonna talk about prevention and treatment. Prevention and treatment involve maintaining a healthy diet, regular physical exercise, a normal body weight, and avoiding use of tobacco. Control of blood pressure and maintaining proper food and eye care are important for people with this disease. The classic symptoms of diabetes are unintended weight loss, polyuria, which is increased urination, polydipsia, which is increased thirst, and polyphagia, which is increased hunger. Symptoms may develop rapidly, weeks or months, in type 1 diabetes, while they usually develop much more slowly and may be subtle or absent in type 2 diabetes. People usually with type 1 diabetes may also experience episodes of diabetic ketoacidosis, a metabolic disturbance characterized by nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. The smell of acetone on the breath, deep breathing, known as Kussmaul breathing, and in certain cases, a decreased level on consequence. A rare but equally severe possibility is hypersmolar hyperglycemic state, which is more common in type 2 diabetes and is mainly the result of dehydration. Here are one picture for the main signs and symptoms. Symptoms are very important for this disease because we have to maintain a very good diet and work out a lot. We have to take care of our health. It's for us. Here I'm gonna talk about pathophysiology because insulin is very important for this disease. Insulin is the principal hormone that regulates the uptake of glucose from the blood into most cells of the body, especially liver, adipose tissue, and muscle, except smooth muscle in which insulin acts via the IGF-1. Therefore, deficiency of insulin or the insensitivity of its receptors play a central role in all forms of diabetes mellitus. Here are my tables for first table is number of people with diabetes for the period. We can see that in 2017 there are 22. In 2018 there are 18. In 2019 there are 19. And in 2020
Здесь камера-то ли? Да.
25. In table 2, we can see average body mass index, and we can see that in 2020 there may be more than the other years. Here we can see comparisons of BMI average and blood glucose profile. In table 2, comparison of dispersions of the BMI and the blood sugar profile. Here we can see change in norms of body mass index and comparison of relative.
Martina, excuse me for the interruption, but I'm afraid that you're very short with the time, so can you please finish your presentation in a minute?
Okay. I have a conclusion for my applications and tables. Ultra analysis reject the hypothesis that for the period there has been a change in the direction of improving the health status of patients with diabetes. The average annual values of the body mass index and blood sugar profile of patients with diabetes in the Umbridge region do not decrease, which is not good for our town. The results statistically analysis presented show how blood sugar profile and body mass index of humans play an extremely important role in the health of the human body. In order for a single organism to function properly, all the studies described in table 8.1 must be normal. The results show how many people with diabetes are overweight, over 70%, and obesity, which is not good for their health. Of particular concern is the fact that 18% of the dead are diabetics, which is really not good. I want to...
Okay, so this is the end of your presentation now.
I want to say thanks to my teachers, Mrs. Svetlana Vasilieva and Mrs. Milkova, which is my biology teacher. Thank you for your attention again.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Martina. Now it's time for the questions. Actually, I will ask the first question on behalf of Mrs. Sabagiova because she's experiencing some troubles with the microphone. So can you please explain us which is, according to you, the fourth type of diabetes?
Can you ask again because I don't hear you very well?
So, which is, according to you, the fourth type of diabetes?
The fourth type of diabetes is gestational diabetes. It depends on this that the pregnant woman maybe have diabetes, but when the baby is born, diabetes easily can be replaced with other illness, and that's really not good.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So it's not time for, but there is one more question from Mrs. Sabajieva. Isn't this the third type of diabetes? According to your presentation.
Can you please? Yes. Just tell us the different types once again.
Yeah. Can you please show us the slide?
Can. Okay. Here.
Okay.
Okay, type 1 diabetes results from the pancreas failure to produce enough insulin due to loss of beta cells. This form was previously referred to as insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus or juvenile diabetes. The loss of beta cells is caused...
Martina, please don't read everything on the slide. We can read too. So just tell us what's the difference between type 3 and type 4. So this is actually the question.
Type 4 is gestational diabetes, which is with pregnant woman, and type 4 is so much types in one. I don't know how to explain this because type 3 can be treated, and type 1, type 2, and type 4 can be treated only with insulin and insulin injections or medications, but type 3 can be treated.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the answer. Are there any other questions, colleagues? Okay, you have thank you for Mrs. Sabajieva as well. So, any other questions? Well, I have a little bit general question, which I very often ask to the other participants. Well, what's your personal contribution to the topic?
I want to realize myself in this in this illness. I'm very interested about diabetes and endocrinology as well. As I say, my dream is to become a doctor, and I'm always in the hospitals. I'm very interested of this, and I want to begin with this project. Maybe I want to realize.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, are there any other questions? Well, if not, thank you once again for the presentation.
Thank you so much.
And I think you were the last reporter for today, so you can stop sharing your screen. And
okay.
It's time for the jury to take the final